Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto nerds of all ages, it's that time again. We have the reigning Algorand DeFi champ, John Clark, stepping into the ring with us today. Wah, wah. What is up, John Clark? How are you doing today, man?
Doing well. Thank you for such a nice introduction to me.
I don't know why I was going with the boxing theme today for whatever reason. I like to switch it up a little bit. I've been speaking my taking more than my turn today. So every once in a while, I got to keep it creative too.
Sure. We got we have 6 people on our team though, so if we want to assign any ownership, I want to also include the other guys,
True.
Owen,
Yes.
Paul, the other engineers on the team.
hmm It takes a village sometimes, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Most people are probably surprised to hear that you've only got like 6 kind of core team members. How many like external vendors and like extended team? How big is the group now when you include like just everybody?
So we have 6 people that are full time on the team. Myself and Owen, who started the company about a year ago, and we're all writing code. So at this point we have 4 or 5. We don't really like specialize too much, but I would say around 4 or 5 of us are like often contributing to the smart contracts and backend, and on
Right.
the front end and product side around 2 or 3 people on the team. And we've worked with some savvy developers on the front end side, sort of help improve best practices internally. But our steady state is around 6 people. And
Okay.
to this point, I kind of believe in the FTX model. I honestly think you can get a lot done with a very lean team, provided everyone is very good.
Focused and on the
Um,
same page.
it just reduces like communication latency and like information loss. So I actually like a, small but very talented team for building DeFi products.
The SEAL Team 6 of DeFi. All right.
Yeah,
You heard
yeah.
it here first. All right. How long have you guys been live now?
So we launched the lending V1 December 17th last year.
hmm
So, we've had around 7 months being online.
Okay. And governance. Let's dive into governance. Let's dive in there and see what's going on because it's been a hot topic lately. The foundation obviously has talked a lot about governance, governance in various shapes and forms, governance of projects, the overall governance. Hot topics include TVL and how to I don't know how to leverage that. So what have you got up your sleeves? What's going on?
Yeah, so Algofi governance will go live sometime after our V2 lending protocol, which we're going to be deploying in the next week or so.
hmm
And this governance, our V0 governance, has been modeled after the Algorand Foundation Governance to a certain extent.
Okay.
Users will be able to, vote on proposals, leveraging the Algofi governance token. This is like basically this token will be meant for voting on various items. These
hmm
include parameter changes to the lending protocol and AMM and NanoSwap. Could also be the distribution of rewards like Aeneas algos that we get from the foundation. Beyond that, it could be creating new products, like if the community wants us to build some interesting set of smart contracts that composes our existing tech stack or to something totally new. It can
Okay.
be put up for proposal, and people can sort of vote on that. So those are the
Meaningful stuff. I like it.
yeah, exactly. Like we really want the proposals to drive value, and we understand that in the beginning we want to do some. We'll probably do some fairly lower, stakes proposals just to get governance going, get people on the platform, get them, sort of basically prove that the system is working, make sure.
hmm
And we're going to be doing like extensive testing on the smart contract side. So this is more about making sure that the community is invested in the process, and then we'll layer on the complexity. But we intend to do that very quickly because we're just a much more nimble, small team. While on the foundation side, it's a bit harder to do large scale proposals. Not only because of their competing priorities, but because of the reputational risk. They're a very large organization,
Yeah.
and they can't do something without very diligently reviewing the options. Whereas we, as a bit of a smaller team, can be a bit faster.
Yeah, they've got this big giant cruise ship. If they need to change directions, it's a beast. You're more like the speedboat of DeFi projects. Like you just change directions on a dime. So that's cool.
Exactly.
So
Well, we,
when
we
you
both.
when you say it's going to look like Algorand, I mean, how much so? What implementations are you going to use there?
Sure. So we've written the smart contracts totally bespoke ourselves, and the similarities are proposals get voted on by holders of the Algofi governance token, just like you see the same with Algorand Foundation Governance. The differences are it's not going to be systematic every 3 months that one proposal gets created by our team. Actually, members of the community will be able to create proposals whenever they want. So it's sort of this continuous process. They get
Ongoing.
yeah, exactly. They get put up for voting by the community. And so there's going to be like a duration for each of the proposals. There will be a certain quorum threshold that needs to be met in order for the proposal to go forward. This means like there needs to just be a certain amount of people that are voting either yes or no for it to be considered. Any proposals that are below that threshold are likely not significant enough. And then after that, there needs to be a supermajority of votes voting, yes. So that means 67% or more voting in the affirmative for something to go forward. So the really nice nuances is that any proposals can be created at any time by anyone that has a sufficient enough voting share, and they'll be considered by the community.
Is it purely, binary? Is it just yes, no, or are there going to be some options where, sometimes complicated issues might have 3 or 4 solutions? Is that option coming into play at some point?
So I think in the beginning, we'll likely do like foundation binary outcome to preserve
Hmm.
the supermajority invariant, where we want the vote that goes through to have at least 67% of the votes cast to proceed.
Hmm.
But we're open, this is the V0 governance. This is going to evolve a lot over time. And so we're very much open to expanding like the way, the types of proposals that can get put online. I
Yeah.
guess one other nuance that's worth discussing is we eventually want to have a curve finance style distribution mechanism for rewards on Algofi. So any kind of token that's being distributed, and in the V0, there's going to be a first step to this process, and it's called the voting escrow. So essentially, your voting power doesn't just come from, this is another nuance against Algorand. It's not just how many of these governance tokens you have. You can also choose to lock them up for a certain period of time in a smart contract, and the longer that you lock up these tokens, the more your voting power is. And so you can
Ah,
lock it up for a minimum of 1 week, but you can do it up to a maximum of 4 weeks. And the longer you lock it, the more voting power you have in these proposals. And it's also correlated to the amount of rewards that you can earn in our staking contracts. Essentially, we get to look at this value and we can
mhm.
use it all throughout the protocol to affect the user behavior.
Got it. Because it's yours, enables you the opportunity to almost double dip. As far as information wise, you can take that same information. Somebody here is staking essentially for a period of time, and it gives you extra benefits here and there. That
Exactly.
that's that's a pretty cool idea. So multiple, questions come up, kind of on a rolling basis. It's binary, yes or no. We need the super majority right now. If something goes away, let's say it only gets 55%, doesn't really pass. Is there anything to stop somebody from lobbying for it in the community and putting that question up again?
There's nothing stopping from people proposing it again. I think it's like the typical, proposal process in any community. If you put it up again, there might be fatigue from the community to see this again. Does one think that it's more likely to pass the second time if it was 10% under the threshold? I don't have the data, but I would anecdotally think that seeing the same proposal but without some new information might not yield a different result.
Yep.
So I think so. Nothing is stopping users from doing that. but it's unlikely, in my opinion, to have an effect. That being said, if new information comes out, then certainly we would encourage people to propose that.
Okay, got it. And 100 votes minimum needed. Yes or no?
100 in general. I think it's not a matter of like, it's a matter of that those are parameters that are going to be set. So we don't have the exact number there, but it's going to be a function of how much of this token is available. So if there is, to give you a toy example, if there was 1,000 of this token and you needed 100 votes for the proposal to go forward, that would make sense. That's about 10% of the float. That seems to be a significant enough amount to make this worth, consideration from the community. That said, if it was millions and millions of the token, then that's not really enough to prevent us from getting spammed. Because we always have to think about.
That's what I was worried about. Like, people are just throwing up nominations for all kinds of crazy stuff.
Exactly. Like, you have to be worried about like the adversarial case when you're building smart contracts, because not everyone's going to be friendly. So that's something that we're protecting against with these parameters we're talking about.
All right. Talk to me just for a second about growth. What's the major milestone that you guys are using as far as growth mechanism? Is it number of users? Is it really TVL? Is it, what KPIs or what metrics are you using when you look at growth?
That's a great question. And it's something that we've been considering more in recent months as we've matured as a protocol. Because in the beginning, we've just been heads down building very quickly, churning out all sorts of different products. And when you're early on, growth is pretty large, all things considered, because you're going from 0 to thousands of users. But now we're thinking about what is our growth rate from here now that we've built like the foundation of our protocol. And so the metrics that we've been looking at are definitely the number of active users, daily active users, monthly active users, not only the absolute number, but also the way that number is changing. So that growth, like month on month, quarter on quarter. And then beyond that, we're looking at TVL. Now, TVL is tricky because it's outside of our control. If the market sells off tremendously, that's going to ding TVL. But we look at the amount of the absolute amount of the token. So in like the native, asset, how many algos do we have on the platform? How many stable coins are on the platform? And we take into account somewhat the dollar amount because people are more willing to put more algos on the platform if they're worth less. It feels like less of a financial risk. But by the same token, algos are a scarce quantity. There are only so many. And so getting even if the price of algo is where it is today, getting a large amount of algo is still, an important thing to measure because there really is only so many freely floating retail algos. And I would wager that, most of the algos are held by like large funds or, whales. So we definitely take a look at that as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting, kind of debate that goes back and forth. Do we quantify it on the fiat amount, or do we range it in algos? Do we range it in number of users? I mean, all of those things are great. We want more of everything. Just sort of what do you weight them as? Let me ask you, as the community grows, but we're still sort of in a bear market, but I still feel like Algorand in general is still trying to gobble up market share. And I like this mentality because we're trying to pick up people from Solana or people that, are disenchanted with ETH, or, every time they see a new NFT project and come on over and they start to, poke around the Algorand community, we want to gather those folks up. And there's new projects coming on too. There's new DEX projects. There's multi-chain DEXs that are being proposed. How much competition is too much competition? And at what point do we think, oh shoot, like there's only so much TVL to go around? Are we? Is there a point where that happens, or is it just one of those things like, well, the more the better, because everybody comes in, they bring their own audience, and everybody, rising tides float all ships. What's the philosophy there? How do you view that?
It's a good question because as a competitive L1 that is not, Ethereum or or Solana, one of the major L1s, we're in this sort of alternative but very competitive L1 space where the TVL of our DeFi ecosystems is quite small in comparison. So I think I would say that there is a point where I think if it's projects that are bringing in something new, a new way of transacting, even if it's just a new product or UI, that is still interesting and could still motivate users to come over and generally improve TVL, especially if they're marketing their product to bring in people from other ecosystems as opposed to trying to migrate users from one protocol already within Algorand to another. Like there's no harm in friendly competition, but I think it's important to generally increase the size of our ecosystem instead of try to carve out a piece of it, because that's where the upside is. Today, Algorand is too small, to try to even get all of the TVL. It's still a small protocol compared to like on Ethereum. So to answer your question in short, I think good competition comes from novel protocols that are doing something different from what exists. But there could be a problem if you get a lot of protocols that are roughly doing the same thing. That just fragments liquidity, and you might see more trading volume because arbitrage bots are going. But it would be better if the liquidity were concentrated on one protocol that provides the best pricing for users and the lowest transaction costs.
Yeah. How much of Algorand is tied up in governance now? What was the latest number?
We have
Percentage wise.
143 million.
All right, not too shabby, huh?
Yeah, I mean it grew. It basically doubled from the last quarter, and we saw a lot of retail algos come in this last period. I think they were waiting one period to make sure they feel comfortable with the process, and I think users were pleasantly surprised to see how seamless it is to commit their algos via the vault. And you don't even need to know how to use the lending protocol on day one. If you can just commit to the vault, you then have 3 months to learn how to use the lending protocol to do various like trading and yield farming activities. So I think users, were kind of learning that during the last period, and we're excited to jump in and do that again, and probably told their friends about it, other people in the community.
Yeah, crypto is one of those things where it's not always super intuitive yet. Even a great platform like yours, you got to use it the first time. Okay, I went in here and I used the governance a feature there, but I wasn't quite sure how to borrow or stake or do all this stuff. So kind of you dip your toe in a little bit, you figure it out, you try it, and then you can tell somebody else, oh, here's how you do it, and then it's kind of word of mouth. Oh, it was happy. You did that, and your algo was safe. Okay, right. So then everybody kind of piles on. I think you'll start to see that momentum really start to pick up, and I wouldn't be surprised if it doubles again. The following quarter. It just seems like that's sort of the pattern.
I think we're seeing more institutional interest in the vault as well, because most of the large allocators do put their algos in governance because it is a relatively risk-free 7% return annually. But I think a lot of those parties are starting to see the importance of DeFi and how easy it is to deploy into DeFi, and they feel much safer given that this has been run for 2 quarters. It's been audited. The teams that are running DeFi solutions are fairly upstanding, and are really looking out for their users. So I think we are going to see a lot more institutional liquidity in the next governance cycle.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's a lot going on. Surprises for you. What have you been surprised by in the last 6 or 7 months? I think I asked you the same question last time, and it was too new. You were like, well, I don't know what I don't know yet. But now you've had 6 or 7 months to kind of like be in the ecosystem. You're up and running. What has surprised you with either like use case or the way people are using the site and the system protocols in ways that maybe you hadn't anticipated? Anything like that come up?
Sure. So just off the top of my head, I think I've been surprised by this is less of a DeFi thing. I have a few DeFi things, but on the CeFi side, I think I've been shocked by the practices of CeFi lenders and centralized exchanges. The amount of organizations that have been going bankrupt or have had liquidity issues is just astonishing, because
Yeah.
even if I weren't in DeFi and I were in the CeFi space, I wouldn't want to get anywhere near that situation for my users, because that's such a bad spot to put retail people in, who aren't even really thinking about these risks that are put in the fine print that they won't be able to get their money back.
How
So
many
a lot,
people did Celsius impact alone?
yeah,
Ridiculous. Yeah, 100%
Celsius,
agree.
Voyager, BlockFi, all of these for better or worse, maybe it was incompetence or negligence, however, one wants to label it. There's been these issues, and DeFi, it kind of is a bull case for DeFi because DeFi has not faced any of this. Prices up or down, Algofi and similar protocols have been functioning without issue during all of this. Like during the Luna episode, we had no issues. Liquidators were liquidating, people were borrowing, people were lending, and we had no problems while these lending platforms were sort of going bust. So it excites me for DeFi, but it also surprises me that CeFi has had such issues.
Taking it on the chin. Yeah. Okay.
You
What else? You had a couple more DeFi specific items, I think, huh?
Yeah, so I think on DeFi, this is for developers, but we are Algorand focused. Like we've been building smart contracts on Algorand, but during our journey, we've also looked at the developer tooling of other ecosystems like Solana, Phantom, just a few other ecosystems. And one thing that people will find surprising is, and this isn't even like, oh, shill like Algorand or anything, but the tooling for Algorand is actually like better than so many other ecosystems. When it comes to the Python SDKs, not only for writing the smart contracts, but I think for writing the smart contracts, there's like fairly comparable like SDKs, but on the launching smart contracts, interacting with the blockchain to read information, the Python SDK, the JavaScript SDKs for Algorand are very robust and frankly better than a lot of the ecosystems that we found. The UX of interacting with Algorand has been very strong. But occasionally there's been a narrative that that's not the case, that it's this alt ecosystem, the developer tooling is not as built up. That's actually false. That's a false narrative. The developer tooling and the SDKs for Algorand are very good. There's just not enough people looking at them versus other larger, more hype-driven, marketing-oriented ecosystems.
Just need
So
more eyeballs on them, huh?
yeah, exactly. So in short, shout out like, Algorand Inc. and their teams for building really good developer tooling. And I just think perhaps the marketing needs to improve to drive more people in. But the dev tooling is there. So I was surprised when I first used Algorand. I thought it was solid, and then when I looked at other ecosystems, I was surprised at how bad theirs were versus Algorand. So that was a big surprise, actually.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. And outside of that, I mean, we not too many major surprises. If I think of any more, I'll try to
chime in. Foundation, in response to governance and their push for TVL, how much of what they do and their push for additional TVL, and you see Stacey's communication is real clear, right? Everything's revolving around TVL. Do they have special initiatives above and beyond what we know about already? Is there more communication behind the scenes to sort of collaborate and really grow, or is it sort of, all right, check in periodically when you can, just give us updates, maybe kind of a loose connection there?
So the ANES program is a pretty public effort from them to incentivize use of Algorand dApps, and most of those are DeFi. So I think there's a pretty open push towards getting more TVL within the Algorand ecosystem, and algo incentives are one approach. Beyond that, I know that the foundation is working on improving access. Stacy and their team are committed to getting USDCA listed on more exchanges. The community's been asking for that. Just know that people are working on that, behind the scenes, and then there is a bit of politics involved in getting this done. So I think that is one of the bigger, one of the items, and supporting teams that are building on Algorand. The foundation is, providing funding to teams that want to come and build protocols on Algorand or make access easier through new wallets. So that's just another push to getting more TVL. But the foundation is definitely committed and sees DeFi, NFTs, and other decentralized applications as being one of the leading pillars of like future blockchain use cases. and so they don't want to fall behind the 8 ball on that.
Yeah.
While Algorand is, exploring not only DeFi but also enterprise relationships. So I think Algorand has its hands in a lot of different buckets, and
Hmm.
I think the goal is that this sort of diversified portfolio of blockchain applications will demonstrate Algorand's technology is very good.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody earlier today, and this plays into the technical, the SDKs and what Algorand Inc. has done, and how much they're preparing behind the scenes that people don't really, notice for that enterprise level integration, or to appeal for major corporate sponsorships or partnerships or collaborations. Even the green crypto sort of hashtag. I don't think that really draws in a lot of individual users, but it's a really good PR move. So if you are a big corporation like a like a Pepsi or whatever corporations are out there, right? You want to be associated with the brand that has some kind of environmental friendliness. I just threw Pepsi out there, boy. That would be cool if like we had a big Pepsi's going blockchain now, distribution on blockchain. um
Yeah,
but 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 like those kinds of things I think happen behind the scenes, and the more that happens, I think the more just it's going to appear all of a sudden that Algorand just jumped over a bunch of other L1s that and just kind of rose up on the chart. So it'll be interesting to see how that TVL comes into play and how much we grow over the next year when everybody else is sort of battening down the hatches. It feels like we're just kind of ratcheting up. It's a different vibe.
definitely.
Yeah. So number one thing for you that you're excited about for Algofi, is it governance? Is that what it is?
I think in the next 6 months, governance is
Yeah.
the most exciting thing. Getting that out and seeing how the community sort of interacts. Like we're hoping that we have the same level of success that the Algorand Foundation has had with its
Yeah.
governance, and we want there to be a ton of engagement with our community. Beyond that, we're also in like probably in early 2023, we're going to roll out some other improvements to governance
Hmm.
that bring in more curve finance style distribution mechanisms to incentivize using the governance protocol. So
Hmm.
that is another thing that I'm really excited about.
Very cool. Well, I love to see the growth. I love to see the community interaction. And there's so much going on. We were talking earlier today. Somebody wants to put together like a credit system, so people could, instead of being over collateralized as much as they are now, maybe they could get slightly better deals on some of their lending protocols if they had some kind of a credit rating system. Or I've even talked to you about the DeFi refi for fractional home ownership. So there's all these really cool ideas that are just out there that are somebody's going to be able to pull the trigger at some point in time, because at some point they stop being really cool ideas and somebody's put them into implementation. And I'm super glad to see all the implementation that you and your SEAL Team 6 of DeFi have put into place here. John, it's always nice to have you on the channel, man. I appreciate you taking some time on a Sunday to stop by and kind of give us the what's what of governance, what's going on, and give us a little bit of insight into what surprised you around DeFi too. Any last words before we head out and enjoy the rest of the little bit of the weekend?
I think nothing much other than for people to watch out for the V2 lending protocol drop, and we'll have more things to say on
Oh
that,
yeah,
more marketing in the coming week or so, and yeah, the same with governance. So
yeah,
just,
nice.
hit us up in the Discord if you have any questions.
All right, sounds good. All right, well, cheers, everybody. As always, I am your crypto nerd.